Hello, 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 and welcome to Rainbows Rising, where we ascend together. I'm your host, Rainbow Raja, and today I have an incredible guest for you all. I have Yovanka. She is an incredible storyteller, and she wants to tell us a little bit about the importance of storytelling and her journey with storytelling. So, welcome so much.
Oh my God, Emily, I'm so honored. Thank you so much for having me. So happy to join, all your guests and everyone that watches you. Really, it's amazing to be in this platform and share, like you said, the importance of storytelling, because I believe today more than ever, this is an important topic in every sense, from the emotional aspect, from the world that we're living in, about content, and also for women and for anything that we do in life. So I am honored. I consider myself a storyteller, and also a butterfly. And I'll share more about my journey with storytelling and butterflies.
Yes. So I see you have a director's chair.
Yes.
So you must be, if you are a director and you're writing for screenplay, right? Like, let's talk a little bit about the importance of like how storytelling really has like changed with movie production and how that has entered our mass consciousness in such a profound way, and how stories are like affecting all of us as we watch television and movies so regularly now, right?
For sure, for sure. So I created what you see in the background is the chair for La Mariposa Films, which is my brand media company focused on storytelling. And yes, it's symbolic and it's also realistic, meaning symbolic because I believe we're all the directors of our own stories, of our own journeys in our life. And we direct, our script, really, symbolically in life. And of course, also, in the work purpose, I do direct, like you said, through, my prime media company, a lot of projects. So how has that changed storytelling? Well, I believe, before, when the world was more focused on films and television, we were a lot less exposed to the importance of storytelling. It was more about the commercials, about the protagonists, about making sure that they were doing these films that already had, like the heroes and certain films that were already very commercial. But there was not a focus on the real aspect of storytelling. And I think with, the social media world, with content, with being exposed to having a phone that we can actually film and do organic storytelling, like, sometimes we see, that has changed the aspect of storytelling in a way that it's also become healing and an important part of everybody's life in every aspect, as you said. Today, we do see a lot more focus on real, organic, truthful stories, which I believe are so important. Also, we are seeing a change that there's a lot of more female stories, where we are focusing more on that, on perhaps projects that are not so commercial. So I believe that in every sense, storytelling is changing and is becoming more truthful, honest, raw, and there's many ways that we can bring it to life. It's not only through film and movies and television, but also the organic aspect of storytelling, meaning when we see someone grab their phone and share their story across the globe and say, hey, I'm here, and we really connect with that person. And maybe in a matter of from night to day, they become a hero or heroine on their own real story of whatever they might be sharing. So I think it's a very important
powerful thing too.
Yes.
Like, really, social media has given so much visibility,
Yes,
to the little people, the people who are not normally seen, the people who wouldn't be the stars in Hollywood, because a lot of the world doesn't know that Hollywood is very very picky about who they put in at the top. You really have to have a certain look. There's typecasting. There's,
Yes.
you have to have connections. Like, even if you have connections, you still have a very slim chance of going anywhere.
Yes.
But
Yes.
with hearing what you're saying, and like, really, I really resonate with the idea that we all have a story to tell.
Yes.
All of us have been through difficult challenges. We've overcome like insurmountable odds.
Hmm.
And the idea that there is a platform, that there's a place that people can really share their life, share their story, share their journey, and to be heard and to be validated in that is
Yes.
so important, because so many people have been hushed.
Yes.
Shh, you can't tell that. You have to be quiet. There's so many family secrets, or, oh, nobody wants to hear about your drama, your trauma. Nobody cares.
Hmm.
Everybody's got it, shush, shush, shush. But
Yeah.
to hear that we all, have this place that we can go, and that
Yeah.
that's your mission, is to make sure that women can really share openly their journey, or, the little guys, right? The little guys can
Yes.
really
Yes.
be heard and be shown that. So tell me a little bit about, like, when did you fall in love with storytelling, and like, when did you really like fall in love with this, because it seems like you've really taken this very small aspect of, of life, the story, right? And you've transformed it into a career, into a very promising career, as it seems, right?
Thank you. Yes, Emily. Well, I think it started very early on. I come from a family who's very involved in the media industry. My father is a very well-known writer in Mexico. Oh, passed away. And
I'm sorry
my
to hear
sister's a
that.
well-known actress. And when we were young girls, my father used to tell us a lot of stories about the Romans and the Greeks and the great men. He was very, very well versed, and he knew a lot about the world history. So we kind of, like grabbed that, and we loved, playing these characters, fantasy characters, me and my sister, and we will voice it out. But as I grew, I remember that my father used to bring me to his study, and he would sit me down and he would share with me all these incredible stories. But one particular day, he shared a story about this amazing woman who was the lover, confidant of Spanish conqueror Hernán Cortés, Malinche, which she was an indigent woman. And I remember for the first time thinking, my God, a woman is not in the kitchen. She is doing something amazing. She's leading all these, men. She knows dialect. She's in the jungle. So to me, it was very like crazy and wild. And I said, wow, women can do this kind of things. From that point on is when sorry, let me put this off. Forgive me.
Yeah, no worries.
From that moment on is when I realized that the stories were inspirational, and we can in a way sort of see ourselves and see our lives and see, for example, someone doing certain things that we perhaps could do the same. So for me, that became like the first seed about storytelling. And eventually I study a lot about her life. I went into work studying film and communication, and I focus a lot on being on camera and doing a lot of things. But it was always about the stories that interest me about people, and particularly about women. So I fell in love with storytelling really from my father. And then eventually, as I realized that this was the key component for humanity in every sense, and I always say, whenever I speak about it, I always say that whenever we are able to tell our stories, as you were speaking about our traumas and our, things that we go through, whenever we're able to tell our story in a way that perhaps is very, impactful, but we don't cry, is because we have healed. And the way we tell that story is from an inspirational place. And that's when people can really engage with it, I love it.
I love that. I think it's really, really intriguing that your journey to who you are now started with a story that inspired you. And it wasn't even the woman telling you the story. It was it was literally like a story told through the ages.
Yes.
Which, if we look back in history, storytelling is one of the oldest art forms. You know,
Mhm.
cavemen,
Yep.
they'd go get their kill, and then they would bring it back, and everyone would be eating the kill. And what would they do? They'd reenact the story, right?
That's right.
So it's just really profound, how we've gone from verbal storytelling to
Yeah.
written word, now to video and media as like this way of relating to other people, this interconnectedness.
Yep.
And I really commend you for like focusing your
Thank you.
entire, like, is it like a company? What do you, a
It
production?
is. It is a
Okay.
media brand, but I also say it's a mission and it's a
Okay.
purpose
Well,
because I
thank you
also love to be
for
of service.
focusing your mission on
Yes.
women, because as much as I notice Hollywood bringing women more into the forefront, and more women are being able to kind of be seen and be heard, I know that we are definitely underrepresented.
Hmm.
And I know that you're down in Mexico, right?
No, I'm in Florida, but I am
Florida.
from Mexico. But
Okay.
I am now and I live in Miami, but I do go back and forth, yes, between
Okay.
Mexico
So
and
I know
mhm.
that productions in other countries might not be at that place either, where women aren't
Yes,
really getting. So like I know that you're trying to be more of an international like
yes.
filmmaker, and that's like I really admire that, because
Thank you,
it's
Emily.
it's really hard. It's hard
It
for
is.
women of all sizes and of
Yes,
all ethnicities and
yes.
of all different backgrounds, especially, I know a lot of women who have been through trauma, and it
Hmm.
can be really difficult to be able to come forward and talk about it. I know I have had a very difficult journey, and my biggest trouble is, how do I make this journey something that people can easily swallow, because it's a
Yep.
lot. I used to tell my story to people all the time, and I just got blank stares and people kind of inching away slowly.
Yeah. It
So,
is. It is. It is for sure. It is like that. And at the end, like I said, it's about healing. It's about being able to come forward, and be very raw and truthful. And of course, eventually, there is a way that you can also structure your story to serve you, to serve what, your business, your
mhm.
organization, your mission, whatever it might be. But you're right. We are, as women, very underrepresented. There's a lot of need for women to share their voices, to share their journeys. And it's part of what, my mission is about. And I'm hoping that, eventually there will be many more, that will be doing what I'm doing. And I think we are in a great time in the world where we need a lot of women's stories, where we need to change that script, as I say, and perhaps, for the new generation of women, the young girls, that can uh, one day dream of being a president, and another one, I don't know, an engineer or whatever, and how did she do it, and what did she do, and how was her story? So from that is part of also what creates change. And some of the greatest leaders, even in technology, use storytelling. I always say that Steve Jobs, one of the biggest tools that he used
With
was
storytelling.
storytelling.
I
And
I love Steve Jobs' speeches. Him as a person, it's give or take, but like he was a profound public speaker.
yes.
And when he would present his product and he would
Mm-hmm.
talk to an audience about anything,
Yeah.
it was riveting. You
Yes.
were drawn in to what he had to say. He was very soft spoken, but he was so direct and concise with how he presented the humanity in
Yes.
this technological device that ended up
Completely.
changing the world.
Yes.
Like, oh, yeah, sorry. I loved his stories because he
Yes.
really did make it so relatable.
And he even has quotes about storytelling, just so you know.
Oh,
He
really?
says a storyteller sets the vision for the future. Or he even used, when he would do his commercials, at the time was more commercials versus branded integration, he will do it in a form of a story, meaning he will work with the emotions and the visuals and the music and
Mhm.
perhaps certain things that happen. So he was using all together, even in his business structure, he was using the storytelling structure. So yeah, we could talk a lot about him, but
Absolutely.
basically he was about all that.
Yeah. And so we can really see how diverse storytelling can be. It can be for sales. It can
Yes,
be for for healing, for really
yes,
healing yourself, healing others. But for, I'm sure the show's all about helping people with their spiritual empowerment and helping
yes,
them, apply these practices, apply these different skills to their life in a way that can be constructive and help them take back their power from situations and events that feel like they have more control over their emotions or their life than they would
yeah.
like them to. So, in what way would you recommend that the listeners apply storytelling to their day, to their everyday life, so that they can really benefit, like, for themselves, for the healing aspect? Like, how can they apply that to themselves?
I think it starts off with being able to really sit down and write and share, perhaps on a piece of paper or in a computer, your story. Being able to write whatever comes to you, and as you're doing that, be able to voice it out, even speak it out loud, and try to identify a lot of those chapters that perhaps are the key chapters, that took you from that difficult moment or time in your life, and how did you transform from it? Because what
Mm.
happens is, in storytelling and in stories, we do have it exactly how it is created in scripts in Hollywood. We have certain chapters in our lives that sort of, take the hero or the heroine from that sort of very difficult moment and change you internally and take you in a different path, that eventually it will be a glorious path.
Mm.
So, as we know, the hero has to fight the dragons and but then he ends up winning and he ends up, getting to wherever he has to get. It's the same thing, really. That's a metaphoric way of putting it, but it happens the same way for us as people, in our healing. And once we are able to identify those chapters and perhaps write them and go over them and clean them up and, do this, perhaps it may take time. I know some people share and say, well, it took me, a few weeks, or it took me a month, or it depends. Once you're able to do that and to identify those chapters, then as you're going through it, it's sort of a healing way, because it's sort of like you're going over it and you're, sort of understanding it and digesting it, and then eventually share it. Start sharing it using
Mm.
your voice, because when you're able to share it and speak, from this and from your heart, from your truth, that's when the real healing will begin, through your story. And if you're able to share it initially, maybe with a small, group of people, family, friends, and eventually open up, to your coworkers, to a group that you might belong, or if you know that your story might serve in a certain, if you have a certain disability, or you might have been abused, or speak it
Mm.
up within that arena, because you never know when your story may change someone else's life and may create, and that would also eventually heal you. And I always say it could be one person, but that person that you touch indirectly will also heal you.
Mm.
So I think it starts with being able to just put it out initially in paper or in a computer or in little notes, whatever it might be. And then eventually, through your voice and speaking up about it.
Having the courage to put it on paper.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great message. I recognize in my own journey, the more that I talked about my trauma, whether or not other people want to hear about it, the more that I was able to communicate it, the more that I heard it and got out of my head about it,
Yes.
I recognized a shift in myself. So I know how powerful verbal storytelling can be,
Yeah.
being able to resonate with other people. I mean, just sitting with your friend, hearing what they're going through and going, "Oh, girl, I know what you're saying," and then you tell them your story. Like we've all done that, and I
Yes.
think you're talking on a little wider scale here. And I know the power of that, even like making a YouTube channel and just talking about it just once or twice in videos can be just so amazing.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that
Oh
because
no, it's my goodness. I love sharing it, and I really, hope that, the my knowledge and expertise can help and can get to many people, because I'm really passionate, and I believe really stories is what moves the world and what can create change in our world. So, from my small, arena, I if I can be of service, to me, that's the biggest blessing for me, so I love it.
absolutely. So I mean, let's circle back around because I mean, I noticed your necklace, this butterfly thing. What is this butterfly thing? What's the story in the butterfly and I work with animal totems. Butterflies are all about joy. They're about
Yes,
transformation,
that's right.
metamorphosis.
Yes.
So what's the story with this butterfly?
So the story is, as you can see on the chair, that is the symbol, or the logo, if you want to call it the commercial way, of my brand media company. But there is behind it, like you said, a story. And the story is that like the script, the butterfly transforms. And first we have an idea about a project, and then it goes through different stages, and then it transforms, and it can become a film, a TV series, a content, a book, whatever it might be. So it goes through transformation. Same thing happens, of course, but with the butterfly, it transforms. At the same time, there is that spiritual aspect of it, of the butterfly, of the meaning of it. And I love to really focus on bringing stories to life that in some way I can find that inspirational aspect, and I can see it fly and take it somewhere else. So I try to really align myself with projects that have that sort of message entangled in there. And also, of course, I think of myself as a butterfly, because I've transformed throughout my life, even physically,
Well, you definitely are as glittery and fluttery and just you give off butterfly energy for sure. That smile
Thank
says
you.
1,000 words.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is why I wear the butterfly, and it is in my logo. And now, I recently changed the color about a few months back to purple. Since we
Mm.
are in this world, because it's the crown chakra, also it's also the color known as equality. There's a lot of messages, but now it's purple, and of course the wings are like little, what film, is made of, basically.
Okay, like the
So
film
yeah.
strips. Nice.
So
That's
there's a whole,
cool.
little things here and there, that are like symbolic, but I'm passionate about butterflies, of course,
Well, I
as
can
well.
I can see that. And, obviously butterfly is guiding you in your life, and that's
Yes.
important to recognize and honor those spirit helpers that arrive in
Yes.
our life and, you know, help us when we need
Yes.
help the most.
Yes.
So, you must be working on some projects. You
I
you
am.
got to have some films in the works right now.
I
I would love
am.
to hear about some of these, these inspirational films, because your production company works like mostly on these very inspiring stories that
Yes.
people can resonate with. So if you're able to, because I know you might not be able to share, but what you can share would be greatly appreciated. And of
Thank
course,
you.
I'll leave a link for anywhere they can find said films.
Thank you very much, Emily. I appreciate it. I love it. So yeah, my company focuses on a few different things. So one is I focus on our own unique content, like you said. I have in development a couple projects. One would be In Miami, is a series. It's inspired in the story, part of the story of my life and three other Latinas who arrived in the 90s, in the 80s in Miami, at a time where, you know, there was sort of change about women and Margaret Thatcher was in power. So it's a little bit, you know, it has drama, music, but it's really an inspirational story of four Latinas who sort of change. And you see in the series the evolution and the change. That will be filmed in Miami. And then I also have in development a project about a very, very powerful Latina Mexican woman who has been my greatest inspiration, Frida Kahlo. I am working in that project as well. And I'm working on bringing a live event with it, you know, for March 8th for Women's, you know, Day, Women's Month. And at the same time, I have different events that I'm launching next year, live events to bring four unique voices from different ethnicities, different backgrounds, four stories among, and young girls as well. I love to do that, to be able to create platforms for women who, you know, may be aligned to X topic, you know, because I create little different topics. And I also do help women with their own stories. Basically, you know, if there's women that come to me and say, listen, I want to create a very cinematic production, sort of, I want to be the protagonist of my own story for, you know, my brand, for my business, for, you know, my organization, I help them as well. What I do differently from a traditional video is that we actually structure their story like in a script. We go through the different chapters, what makes sense, you know, for her message, blah, blah, blah. So I do that as well through my media company. And then, you know, I also speak a lot about, like, you know, I do now about storytelling in different events and help women, you know, understand that their power today more than ever is in their stories.
Wow. You are a
Yes.
busy woman. I commend you.
I am.
So, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing that because it sounds
Thank
like
you.
you're not just about the women empowerment here. You're also about representation and showing
Yes.
these other cultures that maybe are not being seen as much. And I really
Mhm.
commend that because I mean, the only reason I think a lot of companies are doing that at this point in time is because of recent events, and
Right.
it's sad because I know growing up in the '90s,
Mhm.
I saw a lot of diversity
Yes.
in the cinema
Yeah.
and in television,
Yeah.
and something happened around the early 2000s. I
You're
don't know
right.
what happened, but it stopped, and
Yeah.
I grew up you know, like not really noticing that, you know, I thought diversity was a normal thing. You know, I thought
I agree.
everybody was, you know, normal, everybody was equal. And in 2000s, it got really streamlined to one general populace,
Yeah.
you know, white males mostly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I don't know why that shifted because it really
You're
I saw
right.
so much evolution happening in film
Yes.
from the late 80s into, you know, through the 90s.
Yeah.
I was so excited. There were so many women films. There was
Yes.
so many black artists being like exposed,
Yes.
and you know, like I was watching so much television that had
I
so much
know.
diversity, and now it's like, what
I
happened?
agree. I agree. I totally agree. I don't know, you know, I don't know. And you're completely right. And I believe, like you said, now some companies for whatever reason, but I do believe that it's more important than ever to have diversity, and
Absolutely.
diversity behind the camera, and diversity behind the stories being told in every sense. I am a big supporter of, you know, different LGBT community, you know, color community, Indian, you know, disability. I believe that those are the stories that we need to shine. It's not anymore about, the hero, the macho, blah, 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 or the pretty princess who becomes the lover or whatever of the hero. No, I think it's about really telling organic, truthful, diverse stories,
Mhm.
because our world is about that, and the more we tell it, the more we are going to be able to shine a light on all of those voices are not seen and heard. So yes, I have, some great ladies that I've connected with. One of them is Tawana, which she was born with disability. She's an amazing woman. She came, to me, and she shared her story, and I'm trying to help her structure it to bring it to the screen as well. So I'm all about, sometimes I just get certain people that, are from the diverse community that just say, listen, can you help me? Can you guide me? Can you point me in the right direction? Even if I'm not involved in the project. And I love to do that, because I believe so much that it's important. And behind the camera, the more we have diversity behind the camera, then there's a different perspective as well of how we see it, of how we film it, of how we produce it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we need it.
So it's really interesting how, you brought up disabled people and being able to represent them. And I've been disabled since I was 10. And
Oh,
I it was really difficult. I never went to like formal college because my parents were pretty certain I wouldn't be able to do it. And so because they didn't believe in me, I didn't believe in me either.
yeah.
So I've had disability for a long time. It's been a very prominent part of my life. And I overcame a lot of the initial disability issues, and
Mm-hmm.
now I recently I got a new diagnosis of something that's even worse. And I'm like, "No." But as somebody who's disabled, like, how can we go out and like do these things when, maybe we're struggling with memory loss or
Right.
disorganization or feeling overwhelmed a lot easier than normal people? Like, I know
Yes,
I struggle with even managing my own social media or,
I know.
keeping on track with appointments and stuff just because of my disabilities. And it's really scary to go out and tell people, hey, even though I'm this coach and I'm here to
Do
help
this.
people, I'm disabled and I have limitations, because, that might lose you business, or it might give people a preconceived notion. How can people out there who want to get their story told, who have disabilities, how do they overcome that fear? Like, what steps can you give them where they can actually like know that this is something that's attainable for them? What can they do to make this process more effortless?
I think we are in a time that is more open, especially now about all that, and those out there are being much more careful now of how they respond, because they are sort of like, they know that this is, a topic that it's in the air. And I believe that more important than ever is to voice it out, to share it, to be truthful, to be honest about it, and to say, hey, I'm doing this and I have this and this and that, but I want to pursue this and I want to do that. And, there's this girl that I follow on social media, which is amazing. She has Down syndrome, and she wanted to be a cook, a chef or baker. And she, did her bakery, and she became a gymnast, and then she became a model, and she was hired by
Wow.
Gucci, and with Down syndrome. But she was out there and she was saying it, I want to be a model, and because I have Down syndrome, I can represent a certain, population, and I'm looking forward to perhaps working with a brand like this. She voiced it out and it happened. So I think it's about really putting yourself out there, and not being fearful. Yeah, you may not get all the comments that might be positive or welcoming, but it doesn't matter. At the end, putting yourself out there and doing that might create more awareness, might create more opportunities for you, because no one is going to really come and knock at the door. And being fearful and scared, I think it's in the mind. When we are able to really be courageous and put ourselves out there is when the real opportunities come, and when we are really real, raw, and truthful about it. So I encourage, all the people that whatever issues they may have, to really share it and put themselves out there. As I was saying, this lady Tawana, I mean, her story is wow. She has all kinds of disabilities. She's petite. She doesn't walk well, and she's a coach, and she goes out there, and she's married to this giant guy, and she shares her story wherever she goes, and she's doing a book, and she's doing a movie, and she's really put in her disability and all the issues that she goes through. She has no hands. So she writes with her pen, she takes pictures, she puts it out there, she posts it. She's being truthful, and she's being raw, and she's being honest. So I think it's about putting yourself out there and really sharing it, because you believe it or not, you might be surprised with what may happen from doing that. So wow. I do support it very much.
I really appreciate you saying all that, because I know growing up and having a lot of trauma that happened to me, sharing with people like teenager friends and sharing with teachers or people I randomly met, it was not well received. And I think because I was so dismissed so many times, that I really lost faith that my story was worth telling. I really lost faith that it would help somebody to hear. And only until recently did I really start re-examining that, because this podcast got kind of big, and I realized people really were really benefiting from what I had to say. And
you see?
And I'm like, okay, well, I've kept a lot of my life very secret, except for people who know me really well. And I think it's time for people to know what I've been through and to know my journey. Because it's a long one.
Yeah, for sure.
But I appreciate you sharing that, because you filled me with so much inspiration and hope that okay, well, maybe I can go out there, even with my struggles. Maybe I can go out there and do all the things I really wanted to do, but felt so limited. And I just was it wasn't really fear for me. It was, oh, I have kids, and I have this, and I have these things. And oh yeah, nobody's gonna really care. So to hear that somebody might, and that one person would be enough to go through the trouble of sharing and to put myself out there and ask for that assistance, that means a lot. And I know that there's people listening out there who needed to hear that too.
I'm so happy, for sure. And if this can resonate with your listeners, with you, with whoever, even if it's one person, I feel that, I've made, a little difference, in the world. So that just for me is a blessing, and I love it.
What you said has resonated deeply with me and has made already a very large impact. And I feel
thank you.
So driven now to move forward with my own secret plans.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else you want to share, any more insight, because really you have so much wisdom, and I would love to hear more.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think it is a time where we can, like I was saying, we can utilize our stories for our businesses, for our missions, for organizations. So I do encourage very much anyone of your listeners, for right now, that there's so many businesses struggling and so many things happening, that they use their stories and their business stories. Because again, I also believe that people don't buy the business and don't buy the product. They buy the story and the reason of why. I always say, find your why when you're telling your business story of why you are doing what you do. This is how people will connect. They will buy you. They will buy your products because they're buying you. They're buying your vision. They're buying your, what you believe is important. So within that, use that right now, even if it's in an organic way. And when I mean organic, means when you create your website, put that little short story. I started my business because and this is why, I am doing this, And that little business story that indirectly you are the protagonist, the founder or the CEO, whatever, use it. Especially now that businesses need it so much. People are connecting with those businesses that are resonant. Even your struggles within that will be part of what can drive you out. I've heard a girl that shared in a Twitter the story of her parents' restaurant during the pandemic, and it just became that short story that she shared in Twitter. All of a sudden, the business turned around. And wow. But the way she structured and the way she shared the pictures, and when they were building the restaurant, the bricks and this, but she did it. So I think that if that's another piece of expertise that I can share, I believe that we can really utilize that also, for our organizations or our missions or whatever it might be, nonprofits.
Outreach, stories for outreach. Such an important message. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on Rainbows Rising. And if you wouldn't mind sharing verbally where people can find your website, maybe somebody listening has a really incredible story they'd like to share with you. Where can they reach you? For sure.
Thank you. So they can actually find me in all my platforms on social media under Yovanka Sanchez personally, or they can also find me on www.lamariposafilms.com. Anything that has LAMARIPOSA films, which means butterfly films in Spanish, because I'm, authentic to my culture. La Mariposa Films, just like you see it, in the logo in the back, and perhaps you want to type it eventually. If you
I'm going to put it in the description below. That is
but that's where they can find me, and they can share. There's a contact form there. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on IG. I'm on Facebook. Meta eventually soon, I think. Right. So they can find me there, or personally. They're all linked, together under Yovanka Sanchez. And I'm honored. I'm honored always to hear stories, to be a support, to share my expertise, to bring my voice to, help the community or, whoever might be with bringing their stories to the life, and share your stories, because they're more important than ever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you out there listening. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for doing the work every single week. Thank you for putting in all the effort to evolve yourselves and to overcome your challenges. I really genuinely appreciate you guys tuning in week after week after week and sharing the podcast with your friends and family. It means so much to me and our guests to have a platform to be able to share this content with you. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys continue to ascend together. Have a good day, guys. Bye. Are you ready to ascend to the next level? This is Rainbow Raaja, your spirit guide calling. Please be sure to keep all arms and legs inside your vessel at all times. I'm just here to remind you to take some time today. Support Rainbow's Rising podcast. Go. Join the Discord community. Check out the Patreon. Get some stickers, custom tarot cards. Check out the merch. The merch. You know you want to. Go connect with Rainbow Raaja. Maybe even get a session. Who knows? Your support helps make this show possible. And she loves to support you. Help support her too. Once again, this is Rainbow Raaja, your spirit guide, guiding you to your ascension.